So hi, good afternoon, everyone. So we're here to do a very quick 4 startup smart mobility pitches, and then we'll jump into the roundtable discussion about international investment trends. We're doing this as part of the Connected Mobility Hub together with the Eoniq.fund. This is part of sort of the overall sort of investor events that we do every year. I'll talk you through the previous years in a minute, where we culminate in a face-to-face investor event this year in Malaga on the 20th of September, where we bring in 20 startups from within the association from across Europe. There tends to be a larger weighting from Southern Europe, but from across Europe. And we bring them together with about 70 to 100 different investors that tend to specialize in smart mobility. So that's happening on the 20th of September. Please put it in your diaries because Nadim that's going to join in the roundtable in a minute hadn't yet got it in his diary. So if you want to come along, please put it in your diary. On our website, if you click on the investor option, you can see the forms that you need to fill in to request either to present as a startup or to get an entrance as an investor. We have that sort of filter so that we can keep the investors, the investor community that turns up, to those that actually have a strong presence in mobility. And then the 2 days after that event in Malaga as well, there are 2 events, one which is S-Moving, which is a smart mobility event as well, and Green Cities, which is more sort of a smart cities event, which Martin, who's joining a roundtable discussion in a minute, will also find interesting. And I'm sure many of you will. But right today, we're going to do this very quick intro. I'll finish in a few minutes, I promise. Then we're going to do these 4 startup pitches. So Leo, Kusha, Maria, and then Paloma. And then we'll do the roundtable discussion about international investment trends. So just to give an idea of what we do at the Connected Mobility Hub and why we're doing this investor event and where it all comes from, we're an association of, right now, about 140 startups. I think there's actually 190, but it depends how we count them, whether we count people that are actually paid up startups or not paid up. But basically, we're an association of startups from across Europe. We set this up in 2015 to try and give an impulse to the paradigm shift in mobility within Europe. And we do this in 4 different ways. So the first one is visibility. So we help the startups gain visibility into the ecosystem through events like today's. We do a lot of work with physical events like S-Moving and Green Cities that I've just mentioned in Malaga on the 21st and 22nd of September. We also create community. Now, this is a community both with our investment community. We have about 200 odd investors in total within the community. Also with our corporates, that there's another load of corporates, and also with the startups, and then town halls and other key players within the ecosystem. Then we specifically try to assist with open innovation, both with corporates and with cities, and with investment. Obviously, this event and what we're doing on the 20th of September, please write the date down and sign up for your entrance, is part of that we're doing in investment. In terms of the ecosystem generally, as I've mentioned, we've got somewhere between 140 and 200 startups. We've got about 200 investors. We've got 350 corporates. The total network that we have is actually 1,200 startups. And these startups we have in the radar, that we have on our blog, we have in our newsletter. So we have quite a significant reach across Europe, presence in 16 different cities, and within our blog there's 7,000 innovators total. So it's 1,200 startups and about 5,800 of other types of innovators. In terms of events, as I was saying, we work with a lot of events from World Shopper in Portugal through to Motor Tech in Madrid, or the Smart Mobility World Congress in Barcelona, or Biscay Startup Day in Bilbao. We do try to provide support both for the events and for the startups in these physical events. Here's a load of the corporates that we work with. You've got a load of usual suspects from Ferrovial through to I don't know, Hello Auto, through to Sintra, through to Global Via, that we work with. This is done specifically by Moven, which is in the same way Eoniq is my part in terms of investment. Moven is Sergio Diaz, who's the other co-founder of the association, and he works with open innovation projects. In terms of investors, here's a load of the investors that have come to the last event. So again, a lot of usual suspects through from corporates or VC arms of corporates such as Acciona, insurance such as Belois, Indra with infrastructure, GME from a pure investment perspective. And the team is mainly in Madrid. The two founders, myself and Sergio. Sergio comes from Renault, so he has a lot of experience in the automotive sector. As I say, over 20 years of experience in startups, and over 20 years of experience which is more my side, and 20 years of experience in automotive, which is more Sergio's. And then just to go through the investor events itself, so we've been doing this since 2018. We divide up smart mobility in multiple sub categories. So these were the ones that were there in 2018. Some of them have done really well since, some of them not so well, as happens with all startups. In 2019, we had slightly different subcategories because of the different trends that are happening in the market at any one time. When we did it online in 2020, for obvious reasons, again, you can see, for example, IOMob was in 2019 and 2020, for example. So we have some repeats, some that aren't, most that aren't probably. And then in 2021, where we came back to doing it in person, we did it in Malaga. We had about 70 investors, I'd say. And again, we went back to our 5 subcategories. In theory, this year, we will do exactly the same. That's it from me. Without more ado, these are our different contact details. So Angie deals with startup relations. I deal with investor relations, and Sergio deals with corporate relations. And without more ado, I'm going to bring on Leo to give us to talk us through his startup. So Leo, let's have a look if you can share your screen, and I'll add it to the screen here. And then I'll time you. We've got 3 minutes for the pitch, and then we've got 2 minutes for questions. So if you're in the audience, please do make questions. Hi, Dimitris and Javier. So they've changed the format for bringing stuff up on screen. But hi, Dimitris, and hi, Javier. It looks much nicer now than it did before. I wonder if I can do, but I can't do both at the same time. And I will now. Still waiting for you to share your screen, Leo.
At the moment, I cannot share. It says it didn't allow. Oh, yes, now it's working. So sorry. Okay, I hope you can see it. So then
I can see it here perfectly. Okay, I'm gonna disappear off. I'm gonna leave you for 3 minutes, and then I'll come back on and help go through with the questions. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, thanks.
It's all yours. Good luck.
Yeah, thanks. Hi, my name is Leo Schumer, and I present you today our project Future Delivery and what we do actually. So maybe I start with a problem. So maybe some of you bought a drone some time ago, and then you go the first time flying with it, but then you actually see it's maybe flying only 10 to 50 minutes. And that's all. You cannot fly longer with this drone what you bought. And then maybe, for example, you want to buy a different camera and put it on the drone. But then you see it's too heavy for this drone what you have. And that's actually the same problem that we see in the industrial solution with drones. There are different limitation factors for each drone type on the market. And that's where we come in, because we say, why not combine different drone types? Because it's much more efficient to optimize each drone in the system to its given task than using one drone for all the things what we do. And also, when you have a coupling mechanism, what allows to coupling drone mid-air flying, this is much more, this is less time consuming and cost intensive than our solution when you have to go on the ground. And also, and I think that's the most important part here, to using a multi-model system is the same what we're doing actually when you get something delivered, because there will be in the first step a truck who takes it to your region, and after that there will be a car who takes the package to your doorstep. So that is what we actually do. We're developing a coupling mechanism what allows to physical coupling drones in different types in the air. And we are with this technology, the only startup worldwide who's developing this mechanism. And also it's important, we patented this technology what we used last year. So maybe the last words about what's the use case with a system like this. So for example, maybe you have a warehouse 100 kilometers away from a city center, but you want to deliver with drones things inside the city. But 100 kilometers is for a multicopter too long, the range. And also on the other side, when you use a fixed wing drone, you have to drop the package. But now you are able to deliver the package in a way that the fixed wing can fly from the warehouse with the package to the city. And inside the city is a multicopter who takes the package and brings this package to your doorstep. That's a huge step, because now you are able to deliver things all around the world where you really want to go, because there is not much really limitations left. And also there are many different other use cases where you can use this technology for supplying ships and drillings. We are far away from the land side, or medical care when there's too much population in this area. And also there are completely new use cases with that. So that's huge, because that's only a smart look inside what we do. So it's like a cliffhanger, I must say, because that's all I cannot share in this 3 minutes now, and I think I have to stop now. So thank you so far. I think also you have now 2 minutes for questions. So
there are 2 minutes for questions. Right? I'll just take this off. Well, I think everybody got what, or at least I got the idea of behind the solution. So basically, it does. You work in a similar way to companies that are planes that are refueling in the air, but you're doing it with packages rather than with fuel.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So not only we're using a completely different technology, that's important. The technology was used, there's nothing out like this at the moment.
I can imagine you're doing a sort of. I remember I had a spaceship when I was a child. I think it was from something ago was the word they say. Transformers ago. No, it wasn't Transformers. It was something like this. Yeah. And there was one aircraft spaceship that fit into it.
Oh, you mean this? Yeah.
Anyway, just to get an idea, it's obviously a B2B solution for logistics companies or hospitals. You showed with what's, given the current climate, B2B customers are looking for things that decrease their costs or increase their invoicing, right? In an instance of uncertainty, that's what most people start looking for. So I imagine that this is more a cost saving than increase in invoicing. Do you have any idea what the cost saving is for certain types of customers?
Yeah, we looked into it because we make the complete model with different systems, with car, with drones, and also with our system, and looked inside what actually is possible and how much money you can save. I think the first thing what I have to say first is drone solution in the first step will be not something like Amazon told at the beginning, so that it's for everyone. It's more like an express service, because you have to pay more when it's going with a car with hundreds of packages inside. But we looked in this model and we taken this model really bad. So we looked in really bad numbers and looked, okay, what's the lowest outcome really what we can get out of. So when we look, for example, for a warehouse that will want to deliver in cities, we are talking about €5. But when we look, for example, a complete Germany, and you want to deliver really in complete region of Germany, we're talking about €10. That's more than most companies saying when we're talking about drone delivery. I think most of them saying it's cents, something like this, but that's not true. In the beginning, you will be in a range of some euros. But when we're actually talking about €5, on the other side, sometimes you need something really, really bad. It's maybe a cable or something, and you need it at exactly this moment. And at this point, you have not many options. You can go to the next shop, but then you pay more for this cable because he knows that you need this cable. On the other side, you can buy it by Amazon and you pay with €5 or euros extra. So that's huge, I think. And also for companies, when you need a spare part, that's a problem. You able to pay everything for us because every hour costs you money.
Yeah. Okay. We've run out of time, but I did have one very quick question, so I'm going to break my own rule. Can you just give us an idea of the current status of traction? What stage are you at in terms of the development and the deployment?
So at the moment, we finished our proof of concept at the end of last year. And at the moment, we working on the prototypes. So the goal is that we say at the end of this year, we want to make the first coupling with this technology, what we develop. On the other side, we talk to some companies, but it's too early to share all what is going on there. So that's all what I can say at this moment publicly.
Okay, brilliant. All right. Well, thank you very much, Leo. I can't see Kusha connected. I don't quite know why. So I'll bring Maria on next. But just before I do so, I'll put a couple of these comments from LinkedIn on screen. So Dimitris wants obviously a little bit of promotion. We're very happy to give some visibility. We're not so focused on mosquito control here, but always happy to support founders and Miraj, who just wanted to connect and network, obviously through the roundtable. So Maria, I'm going to bring you on, and I'm going to bring on your screen, and I'm going to leave you to it. I'll be back in 3 minutes. Good luck.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today, so thanks for the invitation, Tom. Okay, so sustainable mobility is here to stay, not only because our governments have set a clear roadmap to cut GHG emissions, but also because many of us as citizens are becoming more and more aware of the urge to turn our cities into better places to live. Moreover, we believe that the increasing fossil fuel prices and the shift into consumption pattern might be an accelerator for a more sustainable mobility model. In this context, we have witnessed how sharing has become a great mobility as a service alternative for many people who flee from ownership. However, for those who need to have an available and working vehicle whenever they need it, sharing is not a reliable service. And this is how Moti was born, as a monthly subscription for those who want to enjoy their own electric urban vehicle without the hassle of buying or sharing. A year ago, we launched our MVP, with which we validated an uprising demand for our subscription service. Many learns after, and a non-stop new entrance to the market have brought us to the decision of pivoting our value proposition to a niche market where nobody seems to be for now. So we want to offer our monthly subscription service as an employee perk to companies which not only want to either solve a legal requirement to design their employee mobility plan or to improve their carbon footprint, but who also want to invest towards talent attraction and retention. Our market size analysis shows a TAM of 800 million euros only in Spain, and we expect to reach a sum of 4 million ARR in 3 years. Our business model is based on a vehicle life cycle of 48 months, which allows to obtain a contribution margin of around 30%. We are currently seeking for 200,000 euro in convertible notes at a 1.8 million cap valuation to reach a milestone of a 10,000 MRR in the following months. We are confident that our expertise, talent, and ambition will lead us to success, and I will be very happy to share any information with you in more detail to make your mind to join us. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Perfectly timed. Thank you very much. Okay, there's a question. Well, I'll put Luis's thing on screen. And there's a question for Leo that I'll bring on in a second. I'll bring you back, Leo, and then I'll put this question on screen so you can answer it. But if there are any questions for Maria, please feel free to fire away. For the moment, I'd just like to understand a little bit more how. Okay, sorry, somebody else has a question, and I'll put it on screen, and then I'll do mine. Oh God, there are 2 questions. Okay, I'll leave you to answer the questions then.
In mass platform? Well, this is a great question. We as Modi, I know that this is like loads of different definitions of mass. For us, we just consider not like integration for booking and payment like we do have in our platform, that's for sure. But we do not contemplate to integrate other mobility services, okay? But yeah, our clients, our customers can pay through our website.
Okay. Then we have a question from Cristobal in terms of traction.
Okay. Yeah. As I mentioned before, last year we launched our MVP with a B2C focus, and we were able to validate both the business model and the traction. It's true that we didn't get that much traction. I showed the figures before. Yeah, but we haven't been able to validate the pivot yet. That's what we are focusing for the following months.
And then there's another one.
Or it's kind of leasing. No, it's a subscription. So this means that it works like Netflix, like our customers just like register in our website and they pay monthly, and they can cancel our service whenever they want. Of course, we offer our customers like a 6-month and 12-month subscriptions, and so they can get like a discount, but for our purpose it's a monthly subscription.
And then the last one, and then I'm going to cut you off because otherwise we've gone way over, but I didn't want to leave questions unanswered.
Okay. So what's your competitive advantage? Well, that's a really good question. That's one of the main reasons that we decided to quit the B2C, because we identified that it's getting really, really crowded, and it's getting very difficult to differentiate, at least at the beginning. So we decided to go to this market niche where nobody seems to, well, I don't know if notice, but at least, they are just going. And for us, it's just like we want to focus on, first of all, bringing to our customers all the type of electric urban vehicles, that they might have. That's one thing. Another thing is just like we want an end-to-end digital user experience, which is completely different what the competitors can offer now. And yeah, that's basically, what we are focusing, plus the employee perks.
Okay. There is one more that came in at the last minute.
Okay, lots of questions. Well, for the moment, as I mentioned, we haven't been able to identify any direct competitors that are offering the same business case. We actually saw last week, I think, or it was this week, that Cultra signed up a contract for it was like a private sharing, for I don't remember the name, but for one company, it was like a small fleet, but so yeah, it might be a sign, that they have identified that, but that's the only thing that we have identified for the moment.
Okay. All right. With that, I'm going to cut you off. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone, for your questions. You made my job super easy. And I'm just going to bring Leo on quickly to answer the questions before. And then Kusha, I can see that he's now connected. I'll then bring you on, Kusha. So goodbye, Maria. Hello again, Leo. And where was the question? It was up here. So
I hope you can see me and hear me, because it's a little bit confusing.
I can see
the videos
you
at the
and
moment
hear
is broken, but it's okay.
Okay.
I can answer the questions.
Yeah. Can you read the question, or do I read it out?
I think I have read it before, because I was thinking of writing.
City
But
regulations about drone deliveries, basically.
Yeah. Okay. I will make it short. I was 3 months ago at the Amsterdam Drone Week, and maybe the first thing what is important to understand, for example, Mana in Ireland is delivering with drones. So it's something what is happening actually now. It's nothing we're talking now, not here about something what will maybe happen. So it's starting to happen. And also the ESA is working with all the big companies together to start this really delivery things with drones here in Europe. And I would say next year in Germany, we will start with the use spaces, so small rooms in the air where we can test the systems. And the ESA say it will take maybe 2 years later or 1 year later, we will start to change regulation to the point that you can actually use the drones. So there's also other companies from a bigger one like Wing. We also want to start now this year or next year with delivery here in Europe. So it is starting. It's not really a question of when, of how, when that this will be maybe happen. It will happen. So, but it will take maybe 2 to 3 years.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that. With that,
No problem.
I'm going to take you off. I'm going to bring on Kusha because we're way over time. Thank you very much, Leo. Kusha, could you just share your screen, please, and then I'll bring it on in the interim.
Yes.
For Maria, George considers Wallbox a competitor, but you can answer him in the chat in LinkedIn if you want. And just to remind, I've got your screen now. Just to remind everybody, 20th of September, if you're an investor or a startup that would like to come to our event in Malaga, please go onto our website, connectedmobilityhub.com, and click on the investment tab, and then you can sign up using the forms there. So Kusha, I'm going to disappear off, leave you for 3 minutes, and then I'll come back and cut you off if you haven't.
Sure.
Okay. All right.
Sure.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
No worries.
Cheers. So hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Kusha Kava. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Imperium Drive. We are a startup based in the UK, just outside London in a city called Milton Keynes. And we are developing and offering a technology called remote driving. And we believe that's the right way to approach autonomy. And I'm going to tell you a bit about what we are doing. So, the industry believes today that robo-taxis, and I mean specifically robo-taxis, not any autonomous vehicles, but in the sense of autonomous Ubers and ride-hailing, are still many years away from being scaled. Yes, we see a lot of deployments around the world and trials, but for many reasons related to cities, regulation, technology, we're still many years away from actually ordering an autonomous Uber from everywhere in London to everywhere we want in London. And that's why we are focusing on essentially offering a technology that is ready to scale and deployed today, and that is remote driving. So we've built technology that allows a human to sit behind a set of controls, what you see in the picture, and drive a car remotely like a drone. And how to do it safely is essentially our IP and our differentiation. So what we do is that we get a normal passenger car. Our first vehicle brand is a Kia e-Niro, and we focus only on electric vehicles. We retrofit a normal passenger car with cameras and a set of equipment, hardware, which is all off the shelf, so nothing from our development, but with our software running on those hardwares, we're able to remotely and safely drive cars from a control center. A human can sit behind a set of screens and receive live video from the passenger car and exert controls in real time, again, as if it's a drone being controlled. Using this technology, we are launching a service that did not exist before, and that is instant driverless car rentals to your door. So the same way that you get your groceries in less than 5 minutes, this service allows you to drop a pin and ask for a car hire, a conventional car hire, to be dropped at your doorstep without a driver in it. So the car arrives, you as a user get into the car and then drive it away. So initially, the first use case is you have to drive it, and later we're going to enable the ability to actually be driven to your destination like an Uber as well. And in this first use case, once you finish your ride to wherever you go, it could be 10 minutes, it could be 1 hour, you could also take the car like a normal conventional hire for days. But once you're done with the car, you don't need to even park it. You pull over and ask for a remote operator from our control room to take over the control of the vehicle and drive it away to the next user or back to our base. So we have a user app ready. The service is a B2C service, very similar to a ride hailing, where you pick the car that you want, drop your location, and the car will start being driven to you remotely from a nearby car park. So what's the point of it in terms of value proposition for the users? Today, the door-to-door convenient services that are out there are essentially taxis and Ubers of the world, where you have a car that picks you up on an app with a click, very convenient. A remotely controlled driverless car hire would have a similar convenience to an Uber or a taxi, other than you as a user have to be the driver of that Uber or taxi. And by doing so, you're able to save 50%, slightly more, of the cost on your total journey, which is a huge cost saving for many cost-sensitive users that we do have. And given the increased prices of Ubers and lack of availability of drivers and surcharges being increased, we believe this is the right time to launch this service. So our goal is to start with remote driving, offer this service, but not end there. We want to get to full autonomous driving over time. And we believe the best way to do that is to offer a service today with 100% remote driving and humans being kept in the loop, gather data and build autonomy over a gradual period of time, as opposed to overnight, what other peoples have so far failed to scale a service.
Kusha, I'm gonna have to cut you off. I've been waiting peacefully for that, but I'm just gonna cut you off. We have got a couple of questions though, and then obviously you can continue the conversations with them later on. It's just otherwise we're going to go way over in time. So just before I put on the questions, so it gives some more time to do it. Angie has very kindly put up the link that I was saying to sign up for the event on the 20th of September in Malaga. Kusha was with us last year, so he can vouch, I hope, for how interesting an event it is. And you've got it on LinkedIn, so just copy and paste the link, and then you can start signing up. And now the questions for you. So we've got this one from Adria. He says there's 2, so I imagine there's another one on its way. If you could just answer.
Sorry, let me just stop the sharing so I can see your.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah.
Apologies.
No worries.
So what was it? There's two questions.
The first question is, how quickly can Fetch redirect my car to another client?
So the goal is to do that in less than 5 minutes within a area of 3 miles from the hub. And specifically when you say my car, so this service will not be available on personal cars, although in the future We are looking to cooperate with OEMs to actually enable this feature on your personal car when you buy it from different OEMs. But right now, this is only available on a shared vehicle. So you can book one of these cars from us. The car will turn up without a driver. And once you're done with it, then the car goes to another client for that part without a driver. And our goal is to fulfill that within 5 minutes.
Okay. I'll put on his second question, Cristobal. I'll then put on yours. I haven't forgotten you. It was just to put his two questions in order.
So do we consider integrating Fetch into other mobility as a service platform? Absolutely. So we're already talking with different shared mobility operators and aggregators to essentially pilot this technology by having a booking API on their platform so that they can, send bookings of a driverless car rental platform on their solutions.
Okay. And then Cristobal's question, and then that's it for the questions from the audience.
So what is the turnaround rate that you forecast per vehicle for business model, considering that for car sharing, if you are not above 40%, you are not profitable? So that's exactly right. So a typical car sharing car, if it's successful, gets about 3 to 4 to in very good places like Madrid and Moscow, maybe 5 or 6 rides per day per car. Our estimate is that we can get as many as 10 to 12 rides per day per car. And the reason for that is that we're able to remotely relocate cars instantly during the rush hour, which is the main problem of car sharing companies. Today in the rush hour, they only get one ride and the car is then displaced in a cold area, as they say. What we can do with our technology is remotely drive that car instantly back to a hot area and get 2 or 3 rides per rush hour and increase the total ride, which is the most, rush hour, or essentially where most of the rides are taken for car sharing companies. So we are, our goal is to increase the revenue of a typical car sharing by 100%, double the revenue.
Okay, brilliant. All right. Well, thank you very much, Kusha. I'm going to bring Paloma on now, and hopefully we'll see each other in Malaga again.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay, Paloma.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me here.
No worries. It's all yours. I'm going to disappear off, and I'll be back in 3 minutes. Okay.
Perfect.
Good luck.
Thank you so much. Bye. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the future of corporate mobility through carpooling. As you may feel identified, mobility has become one of the mainly daily frustrations for people, companies, and cities. People consider stressing the 57 minutes they need to get to work daily, and companies are investing tons of money in mobility due to Regulation 2024 and amplified since COVID. This commuting is having a horrific impact in traffic and emissions with a 1.1 car occupancy rate. But we have the solution as a corporate carpooling platform so companies can offer their employees the possibility of car commuting. As a software as a service solution, we offer the companies a commuting mobile app and a management software for which they pay us around 6,000 euros a year. The total addressable market is as big as the amount of people that move to work daily, out of what we will be capturing the first 150 million in the upcoming years. And why will people carpool? Because it is the solution missing in mobility ecosystem, positioned as the cheapest, fastest, and most sustainable alternative nowadays. Of course, we are not alone. We have huge competitors around the world, but mainly with a B2C approach, since we are a totally B2B focused company. We are, we are 4 founder team, very complementary with each other, leading each strategic area. We come from entrepreneurship, consultancy, and corporate world. And because our vision is to lead the transition from private vehicle usage to the shared autonomous car, we are starting a lot of conversations and adding big partners to develop our business, such as ALSA, Cabify, or Kobe, for example. When COVID started, we were just starting to traction our B2C model. So we used COVID time to build a total solid B2B model. So we rebirthed in September 2021 with our first 6 companies starting carpooling. These are some of the companies that brought us to grow our MRR in a 400%, billing almost 130,000 euros and shared 15,000 trips. Our next steps are ambitious, we know that, but we want to expand our business in Portugal and Latam and convert our solution in a total plug-and-play solution. For this, we are raising 1 million euros that will lead us to break even with 2 years runway and an MRR of 320,000 euros by month 24. So later on, I invite you to check out our stakeholders. And if you're interested in knowing us better, you can do it in these links, or actually I can give you the rest of the time left to scan this QR. Thank you so much. And let's go with questions.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. I'll leave that on screen just for a little bit so that people can get their cameras out, their phones out and click on it. So really impressive. While we're waiting for questions coming from the audience, really impressive growth there. Just to get an idea of the pipeline, the sales pipeline, what's your projected, are you going to continue with a 400% year-on-year growth? I mean, what's your projected growth? And where are you growing? Is it more within companies, or sort of a land and expand, or is it new companies that you're bringing on as customers?
Great question, because I really want to give you that answer. We will not be growing in a 400% MRR because this was due to all the pipeline we gained during COVID. So then we launched many companies in these first 10 months, but we will be increasing MRR by 200% until December. The way we are growing is including new partnerships with companies, universities, city halls, and also hotels. We see with each a new user case we just validated. And we will be growing in Portugal and in Spain. We just opened Portugal, our first customer there. And in total, we will be closing 25 more deals in 2022 with the cash we have right now. And we will be closing around 300 more companies in the next 2 years with the 1 million raising by the end of this year.
Brilliant. And just because you've piqued my interest there, hotels, can you just explain how that's working? Because I'm assuming you're not doing it for the employees of the hotel. You're doing
we are doing it specifically for the employees. We found out the reason why searching for hotels is because in carpooling we have a seasonality. In summer, people don't go to university, don't go to work, so people don't commute. And we were looking for new areas that could balance our seasonality, and we found out that hotels have a lot of work during summer. And most hotels, resorts, they are very far away from the actual, I mean, they're in the coast, in the sea, so people normally go by car. And in these cities, the public transport is not as in Madrid, for example. So we have a best case in a hotel in Ibiza with 1,000 employees, and the hotel is actually paying for the trips. So people travel for free, and it's one of our best 5 companies working right now. So we just opened another hotel in Portugal, and employees in hotels, there are many. Do need carpooling to get better access to
that makes sense. And just one last question. There don't seem to be any from the audience at the moment. So the 300 euro tax rebate that they brought out, I think it was 300 euros that they brought out in France, and they were talking about bringing out internationally within across Europe. Is that now a reality? I sort of lost touch with it. Is that a reality? And if you could just explain it, because there might be people that don't understand, or that don't know about that at the moment.
Yeah, of course. So you mean, if I understand properly, like the expansion plans to get to that number of company agreements, right?
Well, there's a tax rebate in France of €300 to employees that use carpooling. So in effect, the government is subsidizing the use of carpooling.
I understand now. Yeah, of course. We know that user case, and is brilliant because they paid for all the competitors of carpooling in France, specifically in Paris. So that's a government that is actually investing in carpooling, right? So we are trying to adapt that strategy in Spain in a way, private-public collaboration. So we imitated the same model. We did it with Las Rozas, a specific city in Madrid. So we got all the trips by carpooling subsidized by the city hall in order to increment the occupancy of the rail. So we are doing that with municipalities, and we are also doing that with corporates, as this hotel, as I told you, and other companies that pay for the carpooling. So we are making the carpooling public and subsidized as much as we can.
Alexandre has just corrected me, and it's €500, not €300. But anyway, the point is that it's an interesting thing, and I believe that the idea was to make it pan-European, which would obviously be a huge boost to your business model. Okay, Paloma, with that, I'm going to take you off. I'm going to bring on the other guys. Thank you very much, guys that are connected, guys and girls that are connected. Please do connect up with the founders. You've got their details in the post. You've got their links to LinkedIn, and feel free to ask them any questions that you like outside of this particular event. Anyway, with that, thank you very much, guys. And I'll bring on Nadim and Alexandra and Martin. And just to remind people, just before we go, that on the 20th of September, and I did put it on with the message that Angie said, but on the 20th of September, we have our annual investor event in Malaga. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you very much for connecting. It might be worth, because I haven't done any introduction of yourselves, to do a quick sort of introduction of each of yourselves. So maybe starting with Alexandra, then Nadim, then Martin, if you could, just 30 seconds, minute.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm Alexandre Grandemy from Paris. I was also, like many of you, a former entrepreneur in mobility. I created the first peer-to-peer car sharing in Europe. Then I joined the consulting world as a director for mobility for Capgemini, and now I'm an executive advisor for Planet Impact Advisory, which supports VC funds and CVC funds all along the investment process, and more especially in mobility. And we are on the quest for looking for the best mobility startups in Europe. So if you're one of them, please reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Fantastic. Nadim?
Hello, guys. Good afternoon over there. Here it's morning in Mexico City. I'm from Liil Ventures. It's a mobility fund based between Madrid and Mexico with an international approach. We are the corporate venture arm of mobility operators, from urban cities to private urban transportation systems. And we have been investing during the last 5 years in companies approaching new business models and creating the connection in order to create a subscription model for the future of cities. Likewise, I was very happy to listen to the pitches, and I will be happy to connect via LinkedIn for further conversations.
And Martin.
Thank you. Hi, Tom. Good to see you. Thanks for having me. My name is Martin Olczyk. I'm a managing director at Techstars, and I'm running Techstars in Italy. We have run there 2 programs with a focus on smart mobility in the past 3 years. This year, we had a program focused on cities of the future. As Tom mentioned at the beginning, while in event in Malaga is also interesting for me, not only mobility. So we are advancing cities and societies with investing in early stage founders. We made so far 35 investments, and we're now looking for the next batch. The next program is coming up in January 2023. So mobility is a core pillar of our investment thesis.
Okay. I know that Alexandre had a couple of slides that he wanted to share. I don't know if now's a good time, Alexandre, and then it sort of gives us focus for the.
It would be like an introduction for our discussion. Based on, we have browsed to 2,000 startups, and so we have got several insights out of it. So we can maybe see if it's the same trend in Mexico and other parts of the world.
If you share your screen, I'll add it on, and then what I was thinking, I think we've got two conflicting trends right now. I think in investment in smart mobility. From the one hand, we have the slowdown of investment generally, and on the other hand, we have this huge shift being forced on us by fuel prices and particularly in Europe, but worldwide. And I thought, well, that could maybe be, because I think that's both of interest for investors and startups to sort of go into a little bit into those two different trends. But for the moment, we'll put your thing on your sheets on screen, slides on screen, and if you could just talk us through them very quickly.
Yeah, very quickly. We have scouted over 2,000 startups in Europe. So obviously our sourcing is not perfect and is obviously a bit based with a lot of French startups getting in touch with us. But you can see on the screen the top 4 in terms of countries generating the most mobility startups in Europe. So France, Germany, UK, and Spain, and also obviously 75% of them are looking for seed or even on a pre-seed phase, and obviously you have much less Series A startups because it's not so easy to get there. The second slide is quite interesting because it shows the trends into which startups and entrepreneurs are currently working the most. And the number one trend is obviously the mobility as a service. So the idea of integrating every mobility service in all platforms, equally with fleet management, which is obviously a huge trend reinforced by companies willing to reduce their impact on the planet, and a consistent position for car sharing and carpooling. And micromobility goes just behind with 16% of the startups. That's in a nutshell the biggest efforts and the biggest trends we have analyzed. Obviously, there are some really into each category. There is some very interesting niche covered by startups, and of course, it's not because a lot of startups are competing that it's not worth going fight in this market.
Well, one interesting thing from that you just showed is that we always have, whenever we do the annual investor events, we always have a lot of logistics companies. I'm assuming that you weren't looking at logistics companies because I didn't see logistics there as a.
Yeah, exactly. We have excluded logistic into this quest, and that's a good point.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, your summaries there are very similar to what we see at the hub in terms of a lot of seed in companies. Indeed, at the annual investor events, there's always far greater presence of seed and pre-seed companies than there are of Series A, as you say. Some of them will have died along the way. And it's quite interesting that, it hasn't really changed. As I said, we've been doing this, the physical event since 2018 hasn't really changed much in that time. Everybody's still focused on the same areas. And I guess there's been an advance in the technologies. I don't know if anybody wants to make a comment specifically on what we've just seen, or whether we jump into what I was just saying of the sort of the investor trends, and then the sort of the shift being forced on us by, I guess, both inflation and specifically fuel and energy-based inflation.
Of course, Tom. I think, and connecting the dots with the previous slides that Alexander presented to us. Well, also basically in Latin America or emerging markets, I think the proportion of the startups, it's a little bit different, and also the stage. We are starting to look a lot of companies maturing on Series C in the region. The majority of them on fintech, and in mobility, of course, we have these struggles. But just like an overall reflection or inception, and connecting, the inflation and the energy points that you were mentioning, Tom. Of course, something that I believe mobility companies has witnessed about this, shrinkage and restructuration happened 2 years ago, right? So I think mobility companies especially are more resilient, or at least they are 2 years ahead, right? In this kind of bubble bursting crisis, and according, to the current situations in the global markets. And I think that's also very important, because the matureness of entrepreneurs that we are looking at, that we are meeting, are more conservative, right? In their business proposals, in, the scalability of their models. And I think that's something, and I don't know, Martin, comparing with, a broader spectrum of startups in different, areas. Mobility companies already passed through this period. It's not the only one, it's not the last one, but at least they started early. So my question, and regarding what you were saying, Tom, was how we can connect, or those learnings, or materialize those learnings in order to share them also with the other ecosystems.
Yeah, okay, that's very true. I mean, I was just, as you were saying that, I was trying to think through the startups that we have in portfolio, the smart mobility startups, and what stage they find themselves at. And there's a complete mix, but you are right that they're sort of perhaps more battle resilient than others, because there was obviously a complete stop in mobility 2 years ago. But on the other hand, they some of them haven't yet started. They were sort of just starting to get traction again, and now they're being hit for a second time. And it's like a boat on the sea. If you get hit by one wave, you sort of and then you get hit by another one. I'm not sure if that makes them more or less resilient. I don't know. Martin, Techstars, you see obviously 35 investments, a lot of startups. You have a huge international vision. What do you see in this respect?
Yeah, I can echo that. I mean, we made our first investments with the program in Italy, of course, in 2020. So it was pretty tough. Especially for mobility, many companies, and I think that's pretty natural with the stage we're investing in, were able to pivot, to iterate during those times, and emerged very, very strong from that crisis. So one company just raised more than 17 million euro from the program. In total, more than 25. So they were pretty forced to really readjust the business model, and not only rely on venture capital, but really try to figure out what is the real value proposition, and despite the crisis, how can they deliver a product that people, I wouldn't say only want, but really need. Yeah, so those companies came out very strong. Of course, we had companies that didn't survive the crisis, just like 1 out of 12, which was pretty great. This year, and I'm currently in due diligence with a couple of companies in mobility, and I think a huge topic you mentioned, soaring gas prices, oil prices, is electrification, and not only for cars, but across several verticals. So with many new funds popping up, and I think Germany just announced 2 funds today, each 150 million euro for climate tech sustainability companies. So investors are still interested in investing in mobility, which is, I think, one of the biggest topics that is responsible for our climate issues. And we are currently in due diligence with several companies. What changed in the past month, I would say, is the type of due diligence and how investors are evaluating companies, right? So not everyone is throwing money at companies like it happened in the last 2 years, but people are really, I would say, returning to the stage, what we have seen, to a normal stage, to a normal level of investing pre-COVID, right? So really going deeper into due diligence, understanding why and what they should invest in. And so I think investments in mobility are not dead, they change. And I think companies that are focusing on real value and not only on venture capital, and I think this is happening currently in these quick delivery companies. Gorilla's just closing markets, Belgium, Italy, they are pulling back because they are probably mainly living by venture capital. Still have value, and I think those companies will continue to being financed, and there is a right to exist.
Alexandre, we made a comment that I remember about Gorillas back in February. We were talking about their model.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy how the market can change in this very fast world. And we were commenting that about the craziness of this fundraising in this market, and obviously the market is going to be and the investment market is going to be much more resilient, focused on revenue generation and not only on growth. That's healthy in a way.
Well, one comment, and it's related to what we've just been talking about. But one thing that we've noticed, so at Eoniq, we launched the fund. We got the confirmation from the financial regulator on the 22nd of April. So we've literally just started investing. And as the fund, we've done a lot of investment previously as business angels. And obviously, because of my focus on the Connected Mobility Hub and all the rest of it, we assumed that we were going to do a lot of investments in smart mobility. We're agnostic, but we see a lot of deal flow from smart mobility. We understand smart mobility. We like smart mobility, and we have a lot of contacts within the industry, within the vertical. And one thing that we've noticed, of our first 11 investments, we've done one in smart mobility. And the reason for this isn't that there's no deal flow. There's a lot of it. It isn't that they're not good companies. They are. They look to be good companies, good founders. It's the valuations. So when we're comparing smart mobility valuations with other companies doing other things in other sectors, the valuations are completely different at the same stage of traction. And I think that that's a problem, perhaps, that's been caused by too many, and maybe we've caused some of this problem ourselves, too many specialist investors chasing too many or too few decent projects in a specific vertical. I don't know if you've got any comments about that from each of your geographies, but it's certainly something that I've seen in Spain. I'll just give one example of this. It's really cool. Two companies doing the last yard logistics delivery, one of them with one take on it, another with another, but they're doing cool things. There's obviously a macro tendency. And we had another that was doing a sustainable clothing brand, and the difference in valuation versus traction, so gross margin compared to valuation, was like 100 times. So it was 100 times more expensive to do the investment in smart mobility than it was to do the investment in the sustainable organic brand. They're great founders, very much a macro tendency. It fits the times, etc., etc. Anyway, sorry. With that, I'll shut up, and please give me your comments on this from each of the markets that you see.
Yeah, perhaps I can start, because I'm
Martin,
hard to focus on specific markets, to be honest. I mean, I think in general, evaluations for early stage companies were pretty high in the past years. I think we also see here, let's say, a journey back to normality. And I guess, I assume, I mean, like mobility was hot in the past years, right? So smart cities, smart mobility was a hot topic. We have seen mega valuations from gorillas and those companies that were driving this trend as well, where many VCs, including some companies that graduated from my program, missed out the opportunity to invest. And then they thought, hey, we need now to really invest whatever is in a similar direction, potentially different market, emerging market, or changing the model, changing their customers. So from, staying with the example of gorillas, Germany, from grocery delivery to pharmaceuticals delivery, like popping up with very similar business model addressing different customers. I think this was a pretty heated market, also driven by many VCs. And I think, like, if you are a founder and you have the chance to raise at a 10 million valuation because everyone is interested in that market, why not doing it, even without having traction or just based on PowerPoint? But I think now we, again, are coming back to valuations that hopefully make more sense for not only founders, but also for investors.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Martin. I think the expectations and the numbers and putting it in practice, you can see micromobilities companies going public, you can see the data behind them, and you can see, the shares starting on $10 and going up to 78 cents. So I think, you have the data that backups, of course, that. So either you have a very good market or a very good data to prove, your valuation. But I think, objectively, it's what it is.
Alexandre?
I think, generally speaking, I think many people relate to mobility. So it's quite an easy sector to get a vision, even not so much expertise, but at least some understanding. And I think people relate also with the huge estimation that on sustainable mobility by 2030. And maybe on the entrepreneur side, there is I have done this confusion myself. I have clearly sometimes set a high valuation, but I think there is a confusion between the estimated growth and the mega trend of the market, and that this market, mobility market, is actually divided in 70 value space, which are much smaller. And of course, you cannot get even if you're a great carpooling company, you will not get the entire share of the market and become an OEM. That makes no sense. So I think on the entrepreneur side, of course, they want to defend their interest and surf on the vibes and on the trend, since there is a lot of interest on the market, and also on the investor side. Like I said, I think people are thinking of Uber being worth billions, and they all have this dream to make the next Uber of their vertical, and on paper it works, but obviously we at the end of the day, the market is always right. The customer and the revenues are always winning the final valuation, I guess.
Okay. Well, just we've gone over time, but then we started late. So just before, I can't see anybody coming up with any questions from the audience. Obviously, everything we're saying is completely clear, or they already knew it. But I wonder if we could just give some, each one of us maybe a little tip. Okay, somebody's asking about mobility as a service. Funny that they say that. because Martin knows well, but I think the only startup that I've had from my portfolio that's gone through the Techstars program in Turin was Eomob, which is a mobility as a service company, which is now done really well. They've actually gone back to their blockchain. You're in the cap table, but they've now gone back to their blockchain initial concept. So no, I was going to say if we could come up with one tip, but let's just go on to let's talk about mobility as a service, because Nadim said something that stuck in my mind forever when we talked about mobility as a service in Mexico, and we were talking about what was stopping it happening. But anyway, Nadim, if you want to give it a go, and then Martin maybe as one of the, Italy's quite a country that could perhaps do with more mobility as a service.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, I think, well, during the past years, mobility as a service was understood as this concept of integration of multiple services with the promise of subscription. I think nowadays is like technology or innovation. The concept, it could be as broader. Every company, it's a mobility as a service company, right? Either from a super app or on-demand transport system. But I think the core of it, it's about who are the ones that are capable of retaining and creating this, daily usage. Either, I don't care if it's, micromobility or, urban transportation, but it's all about who is the most stickiness, right? And you also are looking at, B2B or back-end companies integrating, like Eomob, right? They started as a B2C, trying to, go for the market. And now, their concept, I haven't have the latest updates, right? But the trends are that most of the companies have become as a back-end integrator, right? So of course you will have in Europe and in more regulated markets, and I'm sure Alexandre and Martin can, go deeper in it, but you will have the role of the authority, the grants, the sponsorships that are still promoting this behavior because of the good urban transportation systems allocated in cities. When you are moving to Latin America or emerging markets, I think the super app concept, it's more, related to mobility as a service. It's easier for a mobility service to be integrated in a density of users that already do groceries or already do bankings or, some transactions than starting from scratch, right? Because we are also looking at mobility itself, right? At least on this integration concept, it's not enough. And also the permanency of these mobility services, right? Most of the micro-mobility companies and during all this consolidation process are not on the streets already. So in order to have trust for a new means of transportation, right, you need to have this permanent and this stability in order people to trust you. So I think that's in a nutshell what I'm looking in mobility as a service. So it's a very general concept, right? Of course, if it's subscription related or kind of integration concept, I think we are having the first insights in a larger scale with the market leaders that the business models are not ready yet there and the unit economics are not there. But then we are looking also outside mobility companies that are integrating mobility services that are becoming more successful. So that's, like a very mainly overall concept.
But that's another really interesting point about the differences between sort of more emerging markets and more developed markets. So taking the example of Eomob, because there's 4 of us here that know the solution, their initial integration as a platform was into public transport services. I think their first pilot was with Renfe in Spain, and they plugged in, they provided a mobility as a service white label solution for Renfe. So if I've understood, one of the conclusions I got from what you just said, Nadim, is that because that sort of network doesn't exist, because there's not such a large proportion of customers that are using the public transport networks, or they're using different public transport networks or whatever it be. That's not the way to access those markets, and hence the the Grabs of this world are providing mobility as a service solutions because they have that relationship that other people don't have. Okay. I hadn't looked at it from that perspective before myself. So, okay. Martin, do you want to give us a comment?
I try. So yeah, first of all, like IOMOP, I was part of our program in Amsterdam. I was the MD there as well in 2019. Boy, it is a fantastic entrepreneur. I think a great example of resilience and really being super close to the customer and trying to build something that people need. And honestly, I can just echo Nadim, what you said. I think the question, first of all, is very, very broad. So what can we think about such a huge market with so many different complexities? I think there is a market. It's not easy to crack, right? Like I think every country has different regulation, different players. I think it's a pretty long sales game to integrate and create value for users. As Nadim said as well, I think many players are not existing anymore, right? For good reasons as well. I think that also creates an opportunity, of course, for those who really understand how to play this long-term game, because it's a long-term game, especially when you bring cities, municipalities, public transport companies to the game. It requires capital and a very long breath. So yeah, like honestly, I cannot say now, like probably I can speak for 15 minutes without giving you any value. What do I think about mass? There will be companies who will crack it. If it will be one large company like Google who also integrates different mobility solutions, or if there will be local players who are creating emerging markets technologies or super apps. I think the market is so big, right? So and we see more and more mobility coming up also in emerging markets, Latin America, India, China. So yeah, I mean it's a market. I don't give you my opinion if it's a great market for an entrepreneur to start a company now, or if there are already companies who are way more advanced and might win the game long term.
Okay. All right. Well, because we've gone over time, I did want to ask a question about regulations because it's come up quite a few times, and I think particularly in Europe, this is a really important point because it can change a market overnight, almost. But I think maybe it's too much of a can of worms to open right now. So if you also mentioned just now, Martin, where might be worth a startup investing in or building a solution right now. Should we give one idea each? It doesn't have to be a great one. It will start maybe set a seed and start the thought process for startups. Alexandre, go on, you start.
It's a tough question. I have so many concepts, but existing from our quest of startups, some concept that I really like is connected to corporate being greener in their mobility. So I think there is a lot of innovation possible in that space. Some players are already trying to do something connected to for example, the billing for employees for their travels. I think there is still a lot of place for improvements. Obviously, you have a B2B recurring revenues, so nice in terms of in times of crisis. So I like this space right now.
I'm going to take your one. I'm going to do a little adaptation of it for mine. One of the things that I haven't seen enough of in the market, if any at all, is a certification of greenhouse emissions from mobility solutions for companies. Carbon taxes are coming. They already exist in some places. They're going to come worldwide. There's no stopping them. And I haven't seen anybody really trying to solve properly that issue of registering and certifying what happens and when something, when they change, how it affects that change. Lots of people are coming up with mobility plans, and in Spain, there's at least one region where you have to have, if you have more than 200 employees, you have to have a sustainable mobility plan, like you have to have a gender equality plan and all the rest of it. But still, nobody's really looking at, okay, how can we quantify what's happening? Anyway, that was my little take. There is a comment from Paloma, so you can, Nadim, Martin, you can take one or the other. Give a little tip or answer the question. You choose, and then we'll cut off because I've taken up too much of your time.
Want to go first, Nadim, or should I?
Yep, whatever you like.
So, like, quick comment on the trends. I mean, I think we don't need a 10th quick delivery company or a 100th used car marketplace or something, right? I think we see a huge, like, again, first of all, I would do something in B2B. I'm a B2B person. My companies I founded were those who were successful were B2B. And I think we see companies now with so many problems. You mentioned also regulations, so being forced by authorities to decarbonize, to lower their emissions. This is car companies, this is industrial companies, production companies. So I think they all face different problems. Looking from the mobility perspective, I'll probably focus on alternative energies or fuels. I think that's a huge thing. Electric cars are great. I think that will be the trend for the next 10, 15 years, but with energy prices soaring and growing, and probably that won't be a long-term solution for our planet as well. So that's a field that I'm pretty excited about, how to create a new type of energy or fuel for the future.
Yeah, I totally agree, Martin. I think the management of the whole new asset class that it's being created, it's a huge opportunity for entrepreneurs, for operators to understand, right, the efficiency, the details about this. And I'm trying to answer also Paloma's question about the trends in carpool. Paloma's, I think it's more about definitely regulations will be important, but with autonomous driving and the efficient routes and spaces and roads, definitely will be a concept that I don't know if it will be named the same, but for sure, sharing and optimizing the routes will be a trend that, as Martin says, with electrification, the next 10 and 15 years, the space will be the same. So either we learn to be more efficient, or to coordinate better, or we move to another city, right? or another planet. we're exactly. So, but that's in a nutshell. I think for sure, all these EV and autonomous driving will be, I think, more later, because the imminent, I think, matureness of the new energy sources are already there. It's more about understanding the models and the asset classes. But yeah, for sure, it's exciting for us.
Brilliant. Okay, all right, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time. And guys that are watching, do remember to connect up to the people on the webinar, because that's one of the reasons for them doing it. And thanks a lot. And I really hope to see all three of you. Martin, I know, is confirmed. Alexandre is confirmed. Nadim's going to see if he's in Europe on the 20th of September in Malaga, and any other investors that are out there that would like to come along and meet up in person. All right, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hey, guys.
Bye-bye.
A pleasure.